Here are the stories making the headlines. Malacanang tells the Presidential Security Group to apply for special permits to get COVID-19 vaccines for more personnel. More local government units offer to help the national government get COVID-19 vaccines. The palace leaves moves to get a new franchise for broadcast giant ABS-CBN to Congress. Couples in Borongan, Eastern Samar are made to plant trees before getting married. Good day, I'm William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. President Rodrigo Duterte has signed laws extending the validity of appropriations under the 2020 national budget and the Bayanihan to Recover as One Act or Bayanihan 2. The extension comes as the country continues to grapple with the COVID-19 pandemic. Duterte signed Republic Act 11519, which allows appropriations under Bayanihan 2 available for release, obligation, and disbursement until June 30, 2021. The 2020 budget expired last December 31, 2020. He also signed RA 11520, which allows appropriations under Bayanihan 2 available for release and disbursement until December 31, 2021. Bayanihan 2 provides for a stimulus package of 140 billion pesos in regular appropriation and 25 billion as standby fund to cushion the effects of the pandemic and strengthen the efforts in gradually reopening the economy. It is the second installment of the Bayanihan to Heal as One Act or Bayanihan 1, which gave Duterte emergency powers to address the COVID-19 crisis in the country. Malacanang urged the Presidential Security Group to apply for special permits for the use of COVID-19 vaccines at the Food and Drug Administration so they could get more personnel inoculated. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque made the remark after FDA Director General Eric Domingo said PSG personnel could be granted compassionate special permit in the absence of an emergency use authorization from the agency. During a meeting with President Duterte, the members of his cabinet, Domingo said the FDA could give authority for the use of the vaccines for a smaller group such as the PSG. Duterte's close-in security personnel have been criticized for allegedly violating Republic Act 9711 or the Food and Drug Administration Act of 2009 by getting vaccinated against COVID-19. The palace is also expecting PSG personnel to participate in investigations by agencies in the executive branch on their use of unregistered vaccines. Roque made this remark after President Rodrigo Duterte ordered PSG Commander Brigadier General Jose Durante III and other personnel not to show up in the inquiry by the Senate. The Armed Forces of the Philippines has decided to cancel its planned probe following the President's pronouncement. The National Bureau of Investigation and the FDA have yet to announce whether they will proceed with the investigation. Local government units outside Metro Manila are launching their own efforts to obtain COVID-19 vaccines for their own constituents or on behalf of the national government. Here is our report.
Local government units are inspired to help the national government in buying, using, and handling COVID-19 vaccines as a way of volunteerism, according to Quirino Governor Daquila Carlo Cua. The president of the Union of Local Authorities of the Philippines said the LGUs have the relevant data and ground experience to share that can help guide the national government in decision-making processes. Cua said while the LGUs are not privy to details of vaccines, such as shelf life, they can help identify those areas with appropriate transportation, storage, and logistics. In Pampanga, the Angeles City government has allotted some 25 million pesos for the procurement of COVID-19 vaccines, prioritizing frontline medical workers and those who belong to marginalized sectors. Mayor Carmelo Lazatin Jr. said that he likewise sought the assistance of the Department of Health to augment a counterpart fund of 50 million pesos for the procurement of the COVID-19 vaccines. He also thanked the DOH as well as the Interagency Task Force for always extending support in the city government's fight against the health pandemic. Meanwhile, the city government of Iloilo is now gearing to procure the AZD1222, also known as Oxford AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine from London. On Tuesday, the Sangguniang Panlungsod, in a special session requested by Mayor Jerry Treñas, passed 2 resolutions in preparation for the purchase of the vaccine. The first is to sign the confidentiality agreement, while the second authorized the mayor to make the proper representation for Iloilo City relative to the procurement of COVID-19 vaccines. The city government is eyeing to buy 200,000 vaccines. Last week, Treñas said the plan is to immunize 100% of the city's population. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Chris Crismundo.
The samples of 74 overseas travelers positive for COVID-19 are being examined to detect the UK variant of the SARS-CoV-2 virus, the new and reportedly more contagious variant of coronavirus. National Task Force Against COVID-19 Deputy Chief Implementer Vivencio Dizon said they were among the 3,684 individuals who returned to the Philippines between December 22, 2020 and January 3, 2021. These 74 travelers were tested at the Philippine Genome Center and the Research Institute for Tropical Medicine, or RITM. Dizon added the government has to implement the mandatory 14-day quarantine for overseas travelers arriving in the country to prevent the entry of the new COVID-19 variant. Meanwhile, the Department of Health says, amid speculations that the UK variant is already in the Philippines, the variant has not yet been detected in the country. In a statement Wednesday, the DOH said, based on the lineage analysis through the whole genome sequencing done by the Philippine Genome Center, the UK variant was not detected in any of the 305 positive samples submitted to them from 9 institutions. The suspects in the death of a 23-year-old flight attendant, Christine DACERA, may be barred from leaving the country through the issuance of a precautionary whole departure order. Justice Secretary Menardo Guevara said as soon as the PNP files a complaint with the prosecutor's office, they may issue a travel alert order to the Bureau of Immigration. Based on initial reports, DACERA and the suspects celebrated New Year's Eve at the hotel. The victim was found unconscious inside her hotel room on New Year's Day and was rushed to the hospital where she was declared dead. An initial autopsy indicated a ruptured aortic aneurysm as the cause of death, but the victim's family has asked for a second autopsy, claiming there were signs that she was raped. Meanwhile, PNP Chief Debold Sinas has given the suspect 72 hours or 3 days to surrender to authorities. Sinas said the suspects will be subjected to a manhunt and will be dealt with force if needed. The PNP said despite not having served warrants, the suspects have been previously identified, which is why they must present themselves. 3 suspects are now in police custody and charged with rape and homicide at the Makati City Prosecutor's Office on Monday. At least 8 other persons remain at large. Metro Manila Development Authority Chair Danilo Lim has died at the age of 65. MMDA spokesperson Celine Piolago confirmed that Lim died this morning at 8 a.m. Lim tested positive for COVID-19 on December 30 and suffered a heart attack a week after. Malacanang has expressed its condolences following Lim's demise. In a statement, presidential spokesperson Harry Roque said Lim served the Duterte administration with professionalism, competence, and integrity. Lim was a brigadier general of the Philippine Army. He was appointed at the MMDA in the year 2017. Still to come, the Palace leaves moves to get a new franchise for broadcast giant ABS-CBN to Congress. San Miguel Corporation says its expressways are ready to go cashless on January 11. More on these when the PNA Newsroom continues.
pangalagaan ng sarili laban sa Coronavirus Disease 2019. Hanggat maaari, umiwas sa mataong lugar. Iwasang hawakan ang ilong at bibig, maging malinis sa katawan at ugaliin ang wastong paghuhugas ng kamay. Takpan ang ilong at bibig kung uubo o babahing. Umiwas sa mga taong nagpapakita ng sintomas ng coronavirus disease gaya ng lagnat, ubo at sipon. Magsuot ng face mask kung kinakailangan. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa. Kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito.
You're still watching the PNA Newsroom. Malacanang is leaving it to Congress to act on a proposed bill seeking to give a fresh franchise to broadcast giant ABS-CBN. Senate President Vicente Soto III earlier filed Senate Bill 1967 to renew for another 25 years ABS-CBN's legislative franchise, which a House of Representatives committee rejected in July 2020. Several senators, including Senate President pro tempore Ralph Recto, have expressed support for the measure, but he said it would pass only with the palace's support. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque disagreed with Recto, saying only Congress could act on the proposal to grant ABS-CBN a new franchise. On May 5 last year, ABS-CBN ceased its broadcast operations a day after the expiration of the network's legislative franchise following the National Telecommunications Commission's cease and desist order. The House Committee on Legislative Franchises on July 10 voted against ABS-CBN's franchise bid. Currently, ABS-CBN continues its operations online and through the newly rebranded A to Z, previously known as Zoe TV Channel 11 or Zoe TV. PhilHealth has deferred its premium contribution hike on Tuesday as the state insurer said it is one with President Rodrigo Duterte in his effort to ease the burden on many Filipinos affected by the pandemic. In a statement, PhilHealth said it will still collect premiums from direct contributors using the 3% instead of the 3.5% contributions rate and the 60,000 instead of the 70,000 peso ceiling. In a public address late Monday night, Duterte told PhilHealth CEO and President Dante Gueran to suspend the contribution hike this year. PhilHealth noted that the interim arrangement will be good until Congress can pass a new law allowing the deferment of the scheduled premium adjustment in the Universal Healthcare Act of 2019. An official of the Minor Basilica of the Black Nazarene or Quiapo Church urged devotees to celebrate the Feast of the Black Nazarene on Saturday at the comfort of their homes. Rector and parish priest Monsignor Hernando Coronel said God will be able to hear their prayers while they celebrate the feast inside their houses. Coronel celebrated the Mass at the Quiapo Church on Monday as part of the localized celebration of the feast. He reminded those who would like to go to Quiapo Church to strictly follow the health protocols by the government against COVID-19. Meanwhile, Reverend Father Douglas Badong, parochial vicar of the Basilica, said they are hoping that only a few devotees will visit the church on Saturday. This year, the traditional traslacion from the Quirino Grandstand in Luneta to the Quiapo Church is canceled as mass gatherings remain prohibited due to the pandemic. Several provinces are laying off festivities and other fun activities this early with the continued spread of COVID-19 threatening residents and prospective tourists. Marita Moahe has the story.
Swimmers hoping to take a dip in Benmalay, Pangasinan may as well hang their swimwear as the town prohibits swimming anew to prevent the further transmission of COVID-19 among beachgoers. Mayor Simplicio Rosario said beach swimming, mass gatherings, youth camps, and other sporting events are banned under the resolution of the Municipal Task Force against COVID-19. Only beach activities such as walking, jogging, biking, and driving along the Baywalk are allowed. Curfew hours from 9 p.m. to 4 a.m. shall also be imposed and restaurants shall be closed at 9 p.m. In Cebu City, visitors aiming to celebrate the Sinulog Festival may have less to celebrate as the local police urged Sinulog 2021 organizers to forgo with its cultural activities. CCPO Chief Colonel Josefino Ligan said the Sinulog Foundation should seek approval from the Regional Interagency Task Force before they can implement activities for the Fiesta of the Señor Santo Niño de Cebu. If this pushes through, only the religious activities are allowed, namely the 9-day novena masses and the concelebrated masses on January 17, the Fiesta Day. Earlier, the Agustinian friars overseeing the Basilica Minore del Santo Niño said they canceled the Penitential Walk with Jesus, Penitential Walk with Mary, Traslacion, Fluvial Procession, and Reenactments and Solemn Foot Procession to avoid drawing a throng of devotees. Meanwhile, organizers have canceled the crowd-drawing activities of this year's Feast of the Santo Niño de Bula in General Santos City due to the COVID-19 threat. The patronal feast, considered as among the biggest religious celebrations in Soc-Sargen and had drawn as high as 100,000 devotees and visitors this past years, will have limited activities as a precautionary measure. Nicanora Vargas, a chairperson of Barangay Bula here, said Tuesday they decided to forgo the holding of this year's Isda-Isdaan Festival, Sinulog street dancing, and the traditional pahalik sa imahe. The Feast of the Santo Niño de Bula coincides with the 43rd founding anniversary celebration of the parish and the Isda-Isdaan Festival of Barangay Bula. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Marita Muahe.
In our business news, San Miguel Corporation has reached its target of 156 RFID stations last December 29 as its expressways gear up for cashless toll collections next week. SMC President and Chief Operating Officer Ramon Ang said they will continue to serve and accommodate all motorists wanting to install their free auto sweep stickers. Ang said the opening of more off-site stickering stations, including those in malls and government offices, was a key part of the company's strategy to reach more non-regular users of its toll roads, concentrated mostly in the south. He reiterated that installation activities will continue even after January 11, which means there is no need to panic and rush to the stations. The full implementation of cashless toll collection on all expressways is set on January 11. SMC operates the Southern Tagalog Arterial Road Tollway, South Luzon Expressway, Skyway, NAIA Expressway, and Tarlac Pangasinan La Union Expressway. Up next, more workers in Central Luzon avail of aid from the Labor Department's TUPAD program. And couples in Borongan, Eastern Samar are made to plant trees before getting married. The PNA Newsroom returns after these reminders.
Alamin ang mga dapat gawin sa lugar ng trabaho laban sa Coronavirus Disease 2019. Ang mga kumpanya ay dapat magbigay ng face mask sa kanilang mga empleyado. Bukod dito, magbigay kaalaman din patungkol sa COVID-19. Siguraduhing malinis ang kapaligiran. Maglagay ng sabon at hand sanitizer sa mga palikuran. Siguraduhing ligtas at nalutong maigi ang mga pagkain sa kantina. Obserbahan ang kalusugan ng mga empleyado at katrabaho. Kung sakali man na mayroon silang sintomas ng coronavirus disease, gaya ng lagnat, ubot sipon at hirap sa paghinga, ay agad ipasuri sa doktor. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa, kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito.
The Department of Labor and Employment in San Fernando, Pampanga has distributed around 318.5 million pesos to workers in Central Luzon under the agency's Cash for Work program. DOLE Regional Director Maria Zenaida Angara Campita said over 50,000 workers in the region were given emergency employment under the TUPAD program. Campita said the implementation of TUPAD is pursuant to the directive of President Rodrigo Duterte to speed up assistance to the most vulnerable members of society. In line with the COVID-19 pandemic, she said that DOLE expanded the TUPAD program to cover workers who are affected by government measures to control the spread of the virus. Central Luzon had TUPAD allocation under Bayanihan to recover as one act or Bayanihan 2, which stood at 587.1 million pesos. Chief of the Legal Cooperation Cluster of the Regional Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict has called on the CPP-NPA to stop the culture of violence. Prosecutor Flosemer Chris Gonzalez called out an article that appeared at the website kadaw.org with the CPP calling for the NPA to avenge the Tumandok 9. This refers to the 9 NPA casualties in Tapas Capiz during legitimate police operations held last December 30. Gonzalez said to avenge means telling the NPA to kill the police. The prosecutor also hit the communist group for accusing the National Task Force LCAC as a violator of human rights when they were the ones calling for violence. PCO Undersecretary and NTF LCAC spokesperson Lorraine Marie Badoy also called the CPP-NPA-NDF a killing machine, adding that they are the worst offenders of human rights. The Department of Tourism reminds all hotels and areas under general community quarantine to secure a certificate to operate as staycation hotels first before accepting guests checking in for leisure. This came after City Garden Grand Hotel in Makati City was flagged on Tuesday for accepting overnight guests when it is being used as a quarantine facility. The DOT reiterates that there are only 15 accredited accommodation establishments in Metro Manila that operate as staycation hotels as of January 5. Other AEs not on the list are either operating as quarantine hotels, which are banned from accepting guests for leisure or may not be in operation at this time. Tourism Secretary Bernadette Romulo Puyat also assured that the DOT is on heightened alert and will have zero tolerance for violations of health protocols as the new COVID variant spread outside the region. Couples in Borongan City, Eastern Samar are now enjoined to leave a living legacy for the environment as they start a new life together. The local government of Borongan now requires couples applying for a marriage license to plant mangroves before they are issued one. Surprisingly, despite the additional requirement on top of the usual documentation needed to be submitted to be able to get married, many couples support the initiative. Mayor Jose Ivan Dayan Agda said the local government provides the seedlings and the area where the mangroves would be planted. Agda added that the project would benefit the environment, protect the town from future calamities, and create environmental awareness among the people. More than 100 mangrove plants have been planted along Borongan Bay. Here's another look at today's biggest stories. Malacanang tells the Presidential Security Group to apply for special permits to get COVID-19 vaccines for more personnel. More local government units offer to help the national government get COVID-19 vaccines. The Palace leaves moves to get a new franchise for broadcast giant ABS-CBN to Congress. Couples in Borongan, Eastern Samar are made to plant trees before getting married. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. To check more news content, check our webpage or head on to the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies. Also, watch us on television on PTV4 and IBC13. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know. From the PNA Newsroom, we tell stories that inspire change. Good day, I'm William Theo. Stay safe, everyone.